The way the season unfolded last year, start to finish, where your expectations were and where things finished?
It's hard to put a kind of a summation on a year like that. It was started off strong. We knew we had a big game to start, and then we kind of knew we had certain points along the way that we had to play really well. And when you really look at it, at the end of the year, we didn't finish as strong as we wanted to. And there's two games at the end where, one we didn't finish in the second half, and the other we lost by a point. And that's it's really hard to kind of wrap your head around sometimes. We worked really hard and came up short. So what are you going to do? Work harder. Some big wins in there, but don't really count at the end if you don't finish the way you want to. So that's what's tough. Tough group. Our guys fought through the end, and like I said, we got to work harder.
Parker, you guys have to replace your kicker obviously this year. Do you view that as an open competition between all those guys?
We've got some talented guys. We've got some guys that have experience at other places. We have some guys that played here. And the truth is, our job as a coaching staff and as a team are to find the best players at every position, no matter what the circumstances are. So we have some guys that have a leg up on each other from some experience perspective, but the best guy will kick, and that's kind of what we're trying to find out this spring.
What did you see from Parker Lewis last year, even though he didn't play?
He's a powerful kicker. He's talented. He really is. He started 2 seasons at Southern Cal, and so that's one of the guys I mentioned that has experience in other places. And so, he's going to be right in the mix, and we've got to figure out he was ineligible to start the season, so he was behind a little bit some of the other guys, and that's why this spring will be really big.
How much does Jaden's experience on kickoffs factor into now having a chance at that field goal spot?
It does. Playing in any game, in any role, is experience. Obviously, he didn't kick any field goals or extra points during the season, but because he was the travel guy and the kicker that was kicking off, he was our backup all last season. So he got extra reps during practice, and those will be very beneficial for him. But they won't really, they're different than what we're going to go through in the spring. That's kind of now we're going to see who's the one.
What's your communication been like with Noah over the past month? Have you had to kind of make sure his spirits stay up with the way things ended?
Noah's a tough dude. I didn't have to make sure his spirits were up. They were. It was. I talked to him immediately after the kick. I talked to him in the locker room later. My wife and I saw him right after. It was one of those. You can't prepare for that. You can't. Until you do it and you go through it. It's really tough. But then we talked. The days and the weeks, and I talked to him yesterday. It's one of those things. He's in a good place, but it was hard.
To make that decision in the moment, how much confidence did you have that he could make that kick?
All the confidence in the world. The guy just made a 48-yarder. He's been a really good player for us. He's been unflappable. That's who he was. He like I said, he made a 48-yarder maybe 5 minutes before that, and didn't go in. It's one of those things where you'd love to have it back, but he doesn't get it. And, there's no one else I'd rather have in that spot in that moment. I trusted him fully.
Ryan Day talks a lot about wanting young guys to earn their stripes on special teams. Figure out a way to make an impact. That's how you get out of that younger contingent this year. Who stood out most to you?
Trying to think of who. Young is such a relative term now. With the youngest guy on our team, Sonny Styles, he played a lot, on special teams. But then you've got other young. That's once again, I don't know who's young and who's not. Chip was a first-year player for us. Chip played a lot for us on special teams. My favorite example is obviously an older guy now, but look at Mitch Rossi and Xavier Johnson. Who do you trust more than those guys? And X is scoring a touchdown against Notre Dame, and then one against Georgia. That's where X made his life, and he still does. Even though now that he's playing on offense, he's still a big time special teams guy. But young guys, Sonny Styles, CJ, as you saw, played. CJ Hicks, it is, not CJ Stroud, but played on special team. A bunch of guys did a really nice job. Caden Curry made a bunch of tackles. The list goes on and on for some of those true young guys.
How is CJ Hicks doing?
He's doing well. He's in a good place. He's got same deal as all these other guys, but he's going to have a tough spring, and that's the life we live here. So.
You think back to 2019, obviously a really close loss to Clemson. I know that the 2020 circumstances were pretty big, right? But there was obviously an awful lot of build-up to wanting to play that season because of the frustrating last-minute loss.
Sure.
Do you feel much of that going into next year, or is it too early to gauge that?
The team's just getting back together. There's definitely a hungry group. If you look at some of the guys that have chosen to come back, I'm really excited about that group of guys. Some of our older players. You're right, though. The 19 to 20 team, that year was so different, and it almost culminated in a weird way for us with we lost in the championship game, but we beat Clemson after a whole year of hearing and working towards that, and then we didn't play our rival that year, so a lot of that energy kind of got put into that last, that Clemson game instead of the up north game. Time will tell kind of how that season impacts us and how that end of the season impacts, but we got a hungry team right now, and that's kind of what you want. So that's what you need. In terms of the kickoff and the punt team, we had a lot of moving parts in there, which is abnormal for this place. Just different injuries, different moving, and I think the guys did a great job of adapting and going and playing hard. Kickoff return, when your defense is playing well, you don't get many chances. Yeah. And that's something that we saw late down the we tried some different guys back there. Same deal. If we can develop and get a guy ready, that's kind of the plan. X did a great job down the stretch. It's kind of the nature of it. And then punt return, Jack's getting hurt early, changed a little bit of our kind of focus there.
Yeah.
Because he was a great returner, so that you just kind of have to keep adapting. But Jobs get the ball back. Saw that against Iowa. Saw that against a couple of those. How many fakes did we deter? You'll never know. By kind of our scheme and our structure and how we were organized, you'll never know. But that's part of kind of how I look at it all and say, success. At the end of the season, it's a team game, and we didn't help the team win the games we needed to at the end. But
wrap it up here. Anything else?
How many kickers do you have on scholarship right now?
I don't know. We got a lot of different.
It's hard to.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of all that stuff.
Thank you,